So not for the first time I've opened up the Recon photos and thought, what are Alinghi Red Bull doing? If you follow the last cup, you'll know that one of the big differentiators between the different teams were how they were trimming their main sheets, the powerhouses of the boat. And if you've been following this channel, you'll know through the Recon images that there's been some interesting developments for the next cup in how teams plan to adjust their mainsails. Now, early this month, Alinghi Red Bull Racing debuted yet another new system for main sheet control. Let's jump in, have a look at it. At first glance, it looks relatively similar to the other main sheet systems we've seen parked on back decks. You've basically got two clue board sliders. One, obviously you can see this side, very helpfully says port on it. And there is another starboard slider just in the back of the shot. And then down the middle, you have the actual main sheet itself. But for this system, there are a few additional extras. First of all, there are the blocks and tackles. We also see this chamber here. I think it's just air, like a return spring for this hydraulic ram. And there's a little bit of a padding on this end, which is another key tell of how this system might be being used a little bit different. Just to re-familiarize ourselves with kind of what the traditional no boom hydraulic trimming setup looks like. Here it is, and you can see what I say again. There's two sliders. This is a port one, starboard one, and then you've got the master hydraulic ram for the main sheet. Aboard American Magic this time of how this looks on a boat. This is just a good shot down the back of the sail, and you can see the master main sheet cylinders sat here between the two skins. And obviously this cylinder pulls down to pull the main sheet on, and you can see there's a slider on each skin. So here it is rigged up. The top bit of cord is attached to these two sliders, and that's allowing quite a lot of vertical play, because as far as I can tell, that's just one continuous line that goes between those two clue boards on the mainsail skins. And then there's this kind of becket here, like a swivel becket, and then it attaches to these two strops, which as far as I can tell just turn around these turning points and then go around the end of the hydraulic ram and back as one continuous cord as well. So complete vertical freedom between the two, a differential as it were. And then you've got another differential on the bottom of this yoke as well. But we can clearly see in this the hydraulic ram going off into the sail, the master chamber there, and then the actual ram coming out. And as this ram extends, it is pulling down on these two main sheet strops and pulling down on the main sheet system. This is a picture with the sails actually on the water. Again, you can see how this main sheet system is working. This ram, as it extends, it pulls the main sheet tethers down. It's achieving, that's the question. There's certainly a lot of kind of free movement vertically between the two skins being allowed in this. However, I don't think it's achieving getting the mainsail skins closer together at the leech in the same way that we saw on American Magic, and I've also seen on Luna Rossa, who have also gone through this process of putting the master cylinder down on the deck. So this system from Alinghi Red Bull had got me going back and questioning myself how much differential or play do the teams really want between their skins? Is that one of the key attributes that the teams are playing with in these systems? So I went back and had a look at a video on this system, so you should be familiar with it. But there's basically a master ram in here which is pulling on this single main sheet, and then there's two separate strops which go to either clue board for the mainsail. Now looking at this, it's allowing pretty much zero vertical differential between those two skins. They're both on, as far as I can tell, a hard strop from each side, one port, one starboard, straight down to this lacing eye, which is controlling both of those. At what American Magic are doing, and what Ineos are doing. So first of all, let's have a look at American Magic system. So again, they've got, it's a bit harder to see, but they've got, you know, the two clue board sliders here, and then these two strops are the end of the main sheet. They attach to those clue boards on the strops there. If we look at some footage of American Magic sailing, we can see they quite often seem to have quite a lot of differential between the two skins, both fore and aft in terms of the inner skin sliding back and being a bit tighter than the outer skin, but also vertically as well. So just in the edit here, but I had to show this because it's absolutely beautiful. This is them just popping out the water, and you can see, keep an eye bottom left on the mass rotation movement and the skins that the leech realigning all in conjunction as they pop up. So this is at 10% speed, go, 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 and what you see is the skins start to move together up here. Okay, moving there, mass rotating there, all at once, and initially they end up with a pretty horrible sail shape here, backwinding, but then the Cunningham starts to come on and that smooths out this leeward side, this leeward skin. See it smoothing, smoothing, smoothing as the draft is pulled back forward and the Cunningham back on, and there they are, popped up and running. So that kind of all figures out. So is this a deliberate thing to allow some play into the system? Well, let's have a look at what Ineos are doing and contrast that there. So Ineos' sail recently, I think it was last week, they tore open a mainsail, and that gave us a good view of how this contraption works. Basically very similar to what Emirates Team New Zealand have, but there are some actual quite big benefits of what Ineos have done. So first of all, they have this yoke sat there which allows a little bit of vertical compliance between the two skins, and obviously the main ram sits between the two, but all of their hydraulics for the outhole sliders are all forward within the two skins, and this gives Ineos a really condensed system. So on first glance it looks like they've not got much travel. This slider's relatively short, especially if you compare it to something like the AC40, where there's quite a long slider on first glance. However, when you look into that, the actual mass, the cylinders take up a lot of that travel, so you've probably only got, you know, a few inches, probably less than what Ineos have got, but you're taking up a whole heap of real estate to get that movement. This is a good point to point out that Orient Express, the French team, have finally got a boat on the water, and they'll be racing next month in Villanova. I'll be out in Villanova. Next week we've got a preview video for the preliminary regatta out there as well, so make sure you subscribe for that. This is a really nice shot of it as well. You can see, yeah, at first glance, not much travel, but actually all of this track is available travel. You know, not a new system from Ineos, but quite a nice application or refinement of the existing system that we saw initially from Emirates Team New Zealand. Looking down the leech now of Ineos on their test boat, quite a nice shot this, and we can see that yoke allowing a little bit of vertical compliance. Again, these strops would allow potentially a little bit of differential between the two clue boards. However, honestly, in what I've seen on Ineos, he seemed to be trimming both of those clue boards pretty much in the same position, so they don't seem to be using much of that play. So it begs the question, American Magic seems to have a little bit of play, but seem to be using it more fore and aft to slide the skins. It's Team New Zealand, the AC40s, just has a yoke like Ineos have here, with a little bit of Luna Rossa with their new system, have a little bit of play between the two strops to allow fore and aft, but again, pretty much zero vertical compliance between those two. So what are Alinghi Red Bull Racing trying to achieve with this system? Because it seems to me like they're putting a lot of effort in here to get this vertical play between the two skins, and it's not trimmable vertical play, it's just free movement between the two if that's a freely moving block. And here's the kicker, on the very next day on Alinghi Red Bull we see this. a complete step back to their original system with the master ram between the skins, a yoke just like Emirates Team New Zealand, Ineos, the AC40s have, strops to either skin, and they certainly wouldn't be the only team to step back from this lowered Mainsheet RAM system. American Magic flicked regularly between having their more, I'll say, traditional kind of last cup system of having the RAM between the sails, as you see here, to having it on the decks. I think the very last day they sailed in Pensacola, they had it on the deck. This is the penultimate day, and you can see that they had the more traditional setup, so flicking day by day between the two systems. So I think we'll be in for a few surprises when the race boats get launched next year. Talking about race boats, next month we have the preliminary regatta, the first competition of this cup cycle in the One Design AC40s. That's going to be in Villanova, just along the coast from Barcelona, and I'll be heading out there. And next week we will be doing a kind of a preview show for that regatta, a run through of who the sailors are likely to feature for each team, how their training's been going in the AC40s, and our predictions for the picks for the podium. So if you are eager to see some racing and hear about some racing, then subscribe to the channel for that. It'll be coming up shortly. That is everything for today. Take care and see you around.